Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Voices of the Elders podcast, Mending the Soul of the Village. Today we're speaking to Eliana Harvey, founder of Shamanka, the Women's School of Shamanism in Dorset, which is held at the beautiful temple space called Star House in the grounds of Middle Piccadilly. Eliana is a lifelong shaman. She's now 94 years old. We studied with her when she was in her 70s, and the school had already been established for 20 to 30 years previous to that. So it's a long time of her giving her teachings and holding the space for transformational healings. And we just want to bring your attention for you to drop into receiving this transmission from Eliana, as she is 94, and she's extremely humble, and there's so much powerful energy that flows through her, but she is extremely humble, that you drop into your heart, drop into really listening. And there's gold within moments where she talks about protection, psychic attack. She talks about ceremony and the profound words that she uses through her simple truth and humbleness, like any Indigenous grandmother, is really to be listened to, and wisdom on the Misha bundles. And we just want to bring your attention to that before you journey into the podcast, as she really is an embodied teacher, but also extremely humble in her learning and her continued study, even at the age of 94. So enjoy the podcast, and you can hear more on our website about our school, the School of Sunheart Shamanism, which is very much a part of Eliana's legacy. Thank you. Please look at our websites. I'm Eartha Love, www.earthalove.com, and Hannah's website is www.templeofgracefuldawn.com. And there you can find the links to our School of Sunheart Shamanism. Much love. Hi everyone, welcome to Mending the Soul of the Village, Voices of the Elders podcast. We have with us on this podcast our beloved teacher, Eliana Harvey, who has been the most significant teacher that we've had in our lives. And we feel really blessed and honoured that she's speaking today on the podcast. This is going to be a really incredible moment of being able to receive from a true elder who's been holding a really strong and powerful space for the women and for women's shamanism for a really long time. She's worked with a lot of teachers herself, and she's got an immense amount of knowledge and wisdom passed over to her from those teachers, but also in her own being, her own incarnation and her soul purpose. So we're just really welcoming in Eliana. We've got Hannah here as well on this podcast, holding the space as well, because we came to be with her and studied with her together when we were younger. So we're going to start with Eliana opening the space with a prayer. Welcome, Eliana.
Thank you. First of all, as I say, being a chilly person, can you find one of my shawls which is on the same chair, and just stick it round? So I'll stick my arm round here.
Okay.
And that can go across my knees, whatever was left of that. Done. Great mystery, great wonders. We come here today at part of the beginning of I hope, a worldwide awakening and awareness for womankind, who holds within herself and her being the understanding and the knowledge of how we need to act, work with, react to this incredible force of energy which is being sent to the planet at this time, I think, through the ancients, through the wise ones, because my goodness, it's needed. There are many false concepts and sadly pathways which do not lead to the light into inner wisdom. So for all those searchers, I ask for help and wisdom and forgiveness if they mess up from time to time, as we also have to forgive ourselves. Thank you, all those who are present. And I'm so delighted to see these beautiful people here. What a joy.
Thank you, Eliana. So we're going to begin, Eliana, because we feel really blessed. I just want to give everyone a little bit of an understanding of how much Eliana means to Hannah and I. We came to be with her when we were 27 years old.
Yeah, 26.
26 years old. We're 50 now. We came to be with her and we studied on and off with her for about 10 years.
True.
And yeah, we even had we were pregnant doing the work, heavily pregnant in the Inca second year. And also we brought our children when they were toddlers as well. And she's got a beautiful temple space called Star House where she holds all of her work. And it was a pivotal moment for Hannah and I as young women to, we've been trying to self-initiate since we were teenagers with all sorts of substances, and finding Eliana was the teacher that we needed to have the schooling that our souls had been calling for, so that we could fully initiate ourselves into the role that we have now at this time on earth. And she taught us about the prophecies. She taught us about holding our own energy, proper shamanic schooling, which I feel is lacking for a lot of the young people these days, where they can find a true teacher, a true elder. So to me, sitting here with Eliana and really opening with this moment of finding our teacher and how important the teacher is for the schooling of, especially for the sisters and the younger women.
Yes, there is a need, and I've no idea how much longer I'm going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not up to me. So, as I said, I had the opportunity to depart about 3 times, and I know the journey. Each time I was told, no, your work's not done, go back. So, it's coming up to May, and I again have my birthday's in May, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of my mouth on my birthday.
So Eliana, she taught us about the prophecies of this time, because one of your more recent teachers are the Inca lineage, aren't they, from Peru?
Yes.
Yeah.
I find their way of living, their philosophy, their aini, which means that you look after each other. So if somebody's doing a job, people gather around to help. Their deep, profound respect for Mother Earth, also for what they call cause, the living vital energy in everything that we live, feel, do and experience on this planet, and probably beyond, because they do talk about Hate and Shaska, the star nations, brothers and sisters, so they're very aware that we are part of a great cosmic energy. Mm-hmm. And that's fairly rare for even some of the well, obviously I'm sure it's found in India. I don't know much about China, but I think the Chinese philosophy is quite profound. But I didn't go into that to any great degree. But there's so much to be found, and still waiting for seekers. I think we're all on a quest to find whatever is valid for us, and it could be different for each person. I think there are different paths up the same mountain, or different facets to the same crystal. So that's why it's so exciting. And the fact that you're here, to me, is a huge validation of potentiality for movement, for change, and I'm absolutely delighted to hear what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the feeling of it that you carry. Fantastic.
Yeah, we felt the same when what happened? We were struggling with substance abuse, trying to wake up and to have some kind of initiation, and Eliana's prospectus for her school came through the door. I was praying for help because I wanted to be able to understand consciousness, because we've been out of our body so much on psychedelics, and I really wanted to understand where I'd been, what I'd been experiencing, because a lot of it had been good, but some of it was getting distorted, and I started praying, and it was in Marie Claire magazine.
Oh, extraordinary.
Did you put an advert in there years ago?
Can't remember.
I can't remember. And a brochure we came through the door, your beautiful brochure, and I just felt it, of this school of women shamanism that she's held for such a long time. How many years do you know have you had Star House? On your website it said 10 years. It isn't true. 10 years.
Must be like double that.
Yeah, because we so for us it was 25 years ago.
Dominic might know. He's very good at keeping timetables.
So yeah, we had so for us it saved our lives, actually, because we finally found the teacher that we needed to help us to navigate the shamanic realms, to navigate our spiritual awakening, and to navigate the seeking that young people do when they're on a spiritual path.
I've had to do the same thing. So I can go back and tell you my main teachers, and the ones which were significant, and the others which certainly faced me with my shadow, which I didn't want to hear, but some of them actually gave me a great big kick up the backside.
Great.
Wonderful.
Can you hear that? She had to kick up the bum from her teacher. This is the initiation that's lacking. It's the polishing, isn't it? And
yes.
taking it seriously.
Well, I still do it.
Yeah.
They have to do drawings of them, full drawings of themselves and their shadow selves. So I still do that in Star House.
Yeah.
I know the people, there are previous students who think they know better and they want to change this stuff. It should be all positivity and light.
Yeah.
I'm afraid my answer is always, unless you get rid of the shit, there's no room for the light.
Absolutely.
So, if she thinks she's going to take over, she's had it.
Yeah. So when you, so let's bring it back to this podcast is for the younger generation to have a spiritual platform to navigate their awakenings and the huge shamanic spiritual business awakening that's happening, and the New Age movement. So what I feel to ask you is what words have we got as the teachers, as the older women, as in our menopause and Eliana and Elder, to help them to navigate this huge the New Age movement away from the false shamanism into finding a teacher that's really going to help them to be with themselves in a good way?
I think there's no avoiding the shadow, and most people don't want to look at that. They want to live with love and light and everything beautiful and joyful. There's no running away.
No,
because we carry it within us, and that's, without realising it, that's what we broadcast when challenged or faced with something which is very difficult. It's very easy to slip back into fear and sort of false prophecies and all sorts of things. And I don't think it's ever easy, and if I forget to do my protection, or if I forget to ask the four archetypes before I go to sleep when we're vulnerable, if I forget that, I can easily go through all sorts of weird stuff and think, my fault. I've laid myself open to psychic attack, and you can't pretend it doesn't exist, it does. And the more awakened we feel ourselves to be, or we truly are, the more visible to those dark forces we become. And it's almost like an invitation. Here's something to get rid of. We don't like it because they're far too light. We don't like it because they're going to spoil the rubbish stuff that we're trying to create.
Yeah.
So it's you can never let go. I don't ever see the time when I'm going to happily cruise into my real old age and extinction. I don't think there's a chance, because once you've dedicated yourself, I call it the quest, and the quest has to be approached with truth, honesty, courage, a bit of, not exactly pride, but a bit of confidence that you'll be guided, and whatever, if you make mistakes, we're bound to, but tough, who's perfect? Able to forgive yourself for your obvious. I mean, if we were perfect, we wouldn't need to be here, but if we'd done it, we'd be up there doing other things.
So could you talk a little bit to any younger generation that might be listening about ceremonies and how ceremonies need to be held? Because you've just talked about psychic protection. This is what I see that's happening, is that ceremonies aren't necessarily held, so those younger people are experiencing more trauma and mental health issues. So, even in there's a lot of plant spirit medicine happening now.
That's right.
So, could you talk a little bit to that in terms of like your understanding of ceremony and what needs to be?
Well, ceremonies, it's like Guinness, it goes to the core of your being. And I'm sure that it does. It bypasses ordinary ritual, bypasses superficial intentions, it bypasses glamour, it bypasses self-aggrandizement, because it's the core of who we are. And I think possibly we did some kind of ceremony before we decided to incarnate. I do think it possible that I see planet Earth as a schoolroom, and I think we come here to learn various lessons, and very often these lessons arrive through ceremony. It's not a shortcut, but it provides, it goes beyond the mind, and it goes beyond ritual, and it goes beyond formal processes, and it enters the realm of perhaps true reality, where change can be made which go beyond the ordinary senses. It's and I can't describe that. In these initiations, I think I find that the Inga Munai Ki, which means loving experience, I find that when I give it, and I think when people receive it, I know I have that awareness of not just Star House, I'm awareness of the wise ones of that tradition being present. So I think we are calling upon ancient traditions, but people's awareness beyond certainly my limited experience. Therefore, I think so much ceremony has been ignored, or has become, some of the civil ceremonies are so empty, and I just think, well, these people really think something's happening, but it isn't. They're just, I know an Irish guy, sorry if you recognise yourself, perhaps it's okay, who's devoted to ayahuasca, and he does bore the pants off people by reporting each time one of his 84 ayahuasca ceremonies that he's attended. And I don't think he's changed it one iota in who he thinks he is and how to behave, and what's due to him. But that's, and I know that Dominic, my eldest son, he was a good friend. I know that he thinks, what a waste of experience, and a waste of life.
So I just want to bring in here another Indigenous grandmother that we sat with, called Maria Alice from Mafia, from the Amazon. She talked about this time on Earth, and when she was questioned about ayahuasca, she said when she realised how it's become in the West, she said in her broken Spanish, "No, not like this.
Exactly.
It can turn inside out.
Exactly.
And what I'm seeing, Eliana, which is why I really wanted you to speak on the podcast, is that it is turning inside out, because there's no schooling around shamanism in the way that you taught us. So those ceremonies that you're talking about aren't actually held. So the medicine is turning inside out.
It's just become an empty cult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know much about it, but I even think that cacao
Mm-hmm.
is a creation. I don't feel any genuineness about it at all. It's just an excuse to indulge in loads of chocolate and think you've done something special.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
But if they can create something out of some rather self-indulgent symbols, fine, but I really can't. I don't feel any ancientness in this. Why would you suddenly take a natural plant like that? I can understand ayahuasca because those that I've met, their families from Peru who have been ayahuasqueros for centuries, and I understand that you have to be born into a lineage and you have to fast for a long time and change your diet, and really it's a complete change of lifetime. You have to learn the Icarus, which are the healing songs. So there's a lot connected with it, and I don't think, if you happen to think you've turned into a leopard, will bully for you, but sorry.
So in this then, so do you think there's a purpose to it turning inside out in terms of this movement through the new age? Like, the distortion that's happening, is that all part of the journey to the prophecy? Or
when you say turned inside out, what exactly
she
do
meant,
you mean?
I think what she meant when she said that is that it would become distorted. So that's what I'm seeing, is that the young people coming to our healing practice, or definitely mine, are experiencing more trauma from drinking the ayahuasca because it's becoming distorted because of what you said. Because
the plant spirit doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It's not been honoured.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken out of its natural surroundings, which is the Amazonian forest.
Yeah.
It's taken across to a land and a series of, if it's here, ancient cultures that it doesn't understand and doesn't resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like putting a belly dancer in with the chorus.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. So how do we? Let's go back to the prophecies. So she taught Hannah and I the prophecies of this time through the Inca tradition, which is something that we feel is the massive part of our incarnation, and especially since the past 4 years, is like becoming children of the sun.
Right.
So what I'm trying to get to help the young people is becoming children of the sun and the prophecy and the distortion of the new age. How does that weave together?
When you said the initial statement, that made me smile inside, because I know that's, for me, that's the truth, because you can only really experience it, and it's very difficult when you're not very comfortable.
No, I'm fine, love. Yeah.
I don't know how. Quite honestly, I'd have to start. You can do this. Ask the masters.
Yeah, we have been. Our guidance is that it's all part of the plan to have the great revealing.
Yes.
Of the truth.
They have to know what's rubbish before they can understand.
Totally.
It's
similar to our initiations, but in a different way. Like we had the narcissism and the control and the, collectively, they've got this light and love that is beautiful, but there's more.
Of course.
There's more wisdom and depth that's not necessarily there, but it's...
they want the goodies without doing the work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I think it's their awakening to the great revealing about the great wisdom that's here on this earth, and what the masters were trying to give us, that we are this great wisdom force of nature that's powerful.
Very. and the horses do listen. There's quite a few steps up to my big oak tree before you get to the road. Not this last year, the weather's been too bad, but I was gradually walking my way up bit by bit to actually get up as far as that oak tree. And I feel it's a very ancient being, so I would always talk to it and thank it for its healing, take the acorns. On the way, there's a field full of young cows and things, and I can emulate their bellowing, and they'd always come to the gate, and I would thank them for, although I don't eat meat, I would thank them for the milk and for whatever it was they're able to give. So, and I always was astonished how, although I made that journey, which took me quite a long time building up, I never ever once was driven inside by rain. I would talk to Mama Waira, who's the wind, Mama Kocha, who's the waters of the planet, and say, please allow me to do this journey to my beloved oak tree and back without getting wet. And over 1 or 2 years, I've never got wet. So the powers of nature do listen. And the same with Covis, or we've had a lot of people with Covis, and I've talked to it. And my acupuncturist, I haven't seen her recently, had to have the jab, which she didn't want. Otherwise, her association wouldn't let her practice.
Wow.
It's as severe as that. And so she just had to do it, and I said, okay, I think it's like an entity. I think it's an artificial thing that they've created in China or wherever. And I said, if you treat it like that and give it a good telling of, if you have done me any good, I thank you. Otherwise, get out of my body, and I'm not having anything to do with you.
Yes, yeah.
And I think we've got the right to do that. Anything that doesn't feel open and honest, and and there's beings who said to Jerry and myself years ago, Middle Piccadilly is to be a healing centre, and it's been prepared for centuries. Well, if it's been prepared for centuries, I tell them up and say, okay, I know money's short, but how can I practice if we haven't got any people to practice on? Will you please get on and do something a bit better? Because I know Dominic's, he's beginning to wake up quite a lot. Yeah. And he's quite worried when like now, we haven't got any clients, and some of our people like yourself are stuffed out with people wanting.
I do think there is this great moment in time where there's lots being revealed, and people aren't necessarily wanting to go to the source of connection sometimes because it's very powerful now.
Yes.
So there's a sort of skimming around it to some degree.
Yes, there's an avoidance.
So it's like, what we're seeing is breaking bits off.
Yes.
And not actually going to the core.
I call these people refuseniks. Because some of them actually decided they don't want the treatment after all, and I can read them so well that I've only got to look at the consultation sheet. I don't really need to the minute they walk in.
Yeah.
Something very weird happened though, which I will tell you. I've got to go and see the doctor about my thyroid tomorrow. I might even tell him. We'll freak him out, poor guy. Because we don't get very many medics here. I thought this doctor would come, and I thought, this is before Christmas. I thought, what's he come for? He'll think we're completely mad. What can I talk about? I was getting quite concerned. Went and sat down in my treatment room, and I found myself saying, he could have stepped out of Eton or Harrow. He was, although he's slightly coloured, I could see he was in background. I don't know what college he'd gone to, obviously, but a very upper class one. And I said, I really am not too sure why you've come. He said, because I've got a. I said, before he said anything, I said, you've got a pen in your heart, haven't you? I said, it's as if your light's gone out. And then I found myself saying, as to your liver, you're very angry because of the way your colleagues treat you and they don't recognise who you are and what you have to offer. He said, you're not medically trained. How on earth do you know? You're absolutely spot on with all of that. I thought, what on earth do I say? I said, well, it just sort of came to me. I have heard that the medical people have a category which they call medical intuitives, and people like Caroline Mice, who is an intuitive, I think she's written books, is actually listened to and actually used by the police sometimes. So
we're looking then at so I would like you to talk a little bit towards soul loss, because I feel we're a culture of soul loss.
Absolutely.
And this movement through into the prophecy, to me, it's really important that we do that work.
Yes, I've got a colleague, because she calls it quantum therapy, and I do the heavy duty stuff, and if I've got enough time, but she's very intuitive, I have trained her, she'll do soul loss and soul retrieval, and she's growing in her awareness, and I'm really pleased. I actually said to her, look, you're really waking up and you're doing excellent work. I think it's worthwhile praising people when they're getting there, and she really is. So if the rain would stop, we do plan, if our treatments follow one another, that she's going to pass on to me what she's picked up, and I'll give her whatever advice I've got, because she's very good at soul retrieval.
Yeah,
that's what we've ended up specialising in, is the soul retrieval on many levels. You know, it's like we work with rites of passage, and we feel like this huge rite of passage we're in as a collective, that soul retrieval is really valuable to helping people to understand how to retrieve their power during a dark night of the soul, so they can surrender and expand into more of themselves. And that's kind of what we're doing collectively, aren't we?
Incredibly important. I mean, unless they clear the shit out first, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So can you speak a bit towards the importance of getting a teacher?
Yes. You see, how on earth do you know if you found a good teacher?
How did you find your teachers?
Got a kick up the backside. I was offered a gentle way of getting rid of my shadow, and I was so frightened because it reminded me of my father, who was terrified of. And if I dared to reveal myself, I'd only get blamed anyway. So I avoided anything that was too revealing. And I think it was Olin Dreamwalker, and I think she could read people very accurately. And it's a huge group, and I remember sitting in this big group. She looked at me very severely. She went round, she said, Eliana, call 2 jaguars. I thought, what the hell is she talking about? Of course I can't do things like that. She must be mad. So I thought, oh well, I don't believe in it, but I'll do it anyway. And I was astonished to find these 2 jaguars rushing up towards me, and one hunkering down each, and one was spotted and the other was black. And I thought, perhaps it does work. So I work a lot with jaguar energy. I have one which sounds Samantha, which you met her, brought back from Peru, a lovely one about that size, and he lives in my medicine bag. And if Dominic prepares the room for me, first thing he does is go into my medicine bag and get out the jaguar and put the jaguar by 2 candles. So he's, there's a lot he's got and understand, but doesn't talk about very much.
I do feel like Star House and shamanka has been pivotal and a profound offering to the West.
Yes.
To Britain, in terms of clearing density, clearing the hoocha,
yes,
which is what the jaguar medicine does.
Right.
In Eliana's tradition and the Andean tradition, the jaguar symbolizes clearing density and eating what's called the hoocha.
That's right.
to allow more Swami, more pristine energy, more life force to come in to the world. And I feel shamanka in Britain.
Yes.
The amount of women that have passed through your school, because there was so much density and subconscious way of living here in Britain that's changing now.
I think it is.
Yeah, I feel shamanka. I don't know how many women you've had passing through, but I can see your jaguar holding shamanka.
Oh, it's
and bringing that
it's
to
terrific.
Britain.
He didn't leave. They came for good.
Yeah.
And also the name of Star House, I think, is important because we did a ceremony, lots of different ancient traditions, and I was just at the end. We had Jewish and we had. But I won't go through, but definitely all religious traditions. And Star House actually said to me, as everybody was leaving, "What about my name?" I said, "Oh, I know what your name is. You're Star House, aren't you?" He said, "Of course I am." And I just think that concept of part of the planet really, I mean, Star House, and a number of people who say Star House is magic. What is there about it? I can't tell them. Except that when Jerry had this channeling, that what we were hearing was Star House has been prepared for centuries. Well, they're not going to mess about for centuries preparing a plot on an old farm unless it had something special. A number of people still who say Star House, come in and say, "What, that Star House is magic."
Yeah, absolutely. It's what you said about creating ceremony and the wise ones, the wisdom keepers coming in to that ceremony when the ceremony is held properly.
That's right.
That's what I feel in Star House.
I agree with you.
It's a ceremony, a proper ceremony. It's held well.
Yes.
It's held with power.
So
and it's got a clear, clean, psalmy energy as well, you know.
There's the book on the bottom, navy book under my chair, and that's all the Munai. It's all the whole list of all the ceremonies in the proper order. Yeah. And I know they changed the DNA.
Yes.
Some of the reason I'm still stomping around is due to these ceremonies.
Yes, definitely had an effect on my life. The Munai Key, the rites. The Munai Key rites we're talking about. Yeah, the transmission. So integral to prepare us for this age of prophecy for the children of the sun. Yes. So integral in bringing those codes into those of us that want to work in that way with life force and Sami.
The Inca call themselves the children of the sun. And I can totally understand that because that's how they see themselves. And so they see themselves, they're sort of living that, the ones that haven't been corrupted by a foreign government, or was it Japanese Prime Minister, and all sorts of weird things. But I do feel that they're, especially if they're Misha's medicine bundles.
I just want all the people watching to understand what a Misha is. Eliana's got her incredibly powerful.
I'll give you to hold up. Well, yes, if the house burnt down, this is what I collect. It's in some ways you could see it as a kind of birthing cloth. In another way, you could see it as a travelling altar, because it's quite a large cloth, and traditionally the granny or wise person didn't have great big looms, they had waist looms, so they would be done in two sections and then done a special stitch to put these sections together, so you have quite a big cloth. And as a travelling, one of their wise ones, if he had the sight, so to speak, that he'd only have to touch your Misha or even look at it to know your story of your life's journey and where you were with your evolution and your understanding. So this my little one I have in another bag, which the time when I was going backwards and forwards to France, and wasn't very happy about putting it through an X-ray machine. Felt disrespectful. So I did make a little one. But the thing about these stones, there are 12 stones. This took me 2 years to make, because when I was doing the training, I was required to work with some shadow, and definitely more than one stone, and to do something practice they call the illumination process, in which we use the breath to let go of huja, which is their name for heavy inappropriate energy, and send that to be transmuted to a sacred water or to a sacred flame. I suppose if you could create your cosmos immediate area, that's why I like to do the illumination, because I'll just have a little extra sideline on this before we do this work, before we do any treatments or any prayer or anything. Nobody seems to have thought about the early painters who always did a picture of the Christos or the disciples with a halo around them. Now, how on earth did those peasant people know that was there? Obviously because they could see it. So the assumption is that we all have this radiance which you can try for yourself. But most people, it's about that width, there's about a foot each side, and within that I feel perfectly safe, and I try not to forget to do it, because up into that, and then turning my hands out and spreading it round me like a cloak of light, to me it's one of the best protections there is, and I think it really is hugely awakening. And I do try to remember to do it before I go to sleep, because when we are in the sleep state we are quite vulnerable, I think, and at times I've perhaps forgotten to talk to each of the archangels. I can go with them if you wish, but Gabriel is the messenger taker. Uriel, I'm never quite sure, I ought to look him up, because I think he looks after psychic stuff. Raphael, I should call them saints, is the healer, and Christos, the great one, is, I think that's just about the lot. I think there are, and one, if I visualise them at the end of my bed, one each of me protecting my energy field, I have a good night's sleep. If I forget to do it, sometimes I get rather bad dreams, or I think, what was the matter? What was the matter with you? Because when we're asleep, that part of ourselves is very vulnerable, and
because we're travelling.
I have been told, I worked quite a lot with Arwen Dreamwalker, and she certainly inherited that name, because she was certainly around in people's dreams. And there were Native Americans who were seen doing a healing in North of America, and yet asleep in his bed. So dreamweavers, dreamwalkers, and some people have told me I was around, but perhaps I'm not glad I haven't remembered.
So you mentioned something there about our own evolution, how this Misha, they can feel our evolution and how far we've come on our own path, right? Is that what you said? Like, let's talk about evolution then, and this prophecy, and how we're all evolving collectively into this new age. Like, I feel now we are, because in what Eliana's taught Hannah and I, we're moving into Pachacuti, the golden age. In India, it's Satya Yuga, which is the golden age. In Tibet, it's Shambhala, which is heaven. The fifth world in Native America, is it now? I can't remember, but
Viracocha, which means the divine being.
Viracocha.
Hang on. Excuse me. Yes, well, there's a V or a W. I'm not sure what it means as a defined being.
Does it?
So, having said that, I just think I've not quite got used to, but I know that strange things are likely to happen to me. Like, I wasn't ever expecting to be a sacred pipe carrier, because normally you have to be a well-known teacher. You have to be walking the sacred path and white buffalo calf woman. This is their divine symbol, if you like. And to me, it's almost too much of an honour or a privilege to be a keeper of a sacred pipe. And perhaps I should use it more, but I keep it for when I do. I was told I should, during the training, I should teach it and I should do the ceremony. I find the ceremony very moving and very potent. And I'm getting a little internal rub on the knuckles. I should use it more. Because you don't need to inhale. It's just take it in the mouth.
I remember doing it with you, love. Yeah, I remember we did a pipe ceremony.
Good.
Yeah.
To me, it's very important and very potent. And I still do it at the right moment. I think it's the third weekend.
Yeah. I'm feeling the value of the Inca tradition and the what you said about clearing the hucha and the density and having to go into the shadow to do that, to bring in more light, the true light. And I think that's kind of, why I remember you telling me, was it Don Juan del Pradas that you said that he'd hug you and he'd clear your density? Was that.
That's right.
Full of Sami.
You feel him pulling it out of you.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something about not wanting to go into that depth of wisdom because of potential pain and suffering in the shadows, to receive the prophecy of the children of the sun. And there's this glamour of the false light which is there.
Oh, the people want to get it without doing the hard work.
Yeah, so it's like following the wisdom of the Incas and the Andean shamanism and the clearing of the density through these absolutely beautiful practices. They are so exquisitely beautiful.
I'll show you my bundle as well.
The despacho, the illumination techniques, what else? The viracocha that she talks about. It's all the Munaiki.
The taming of the jaguar.
The taming of the jaguar.
Yes. That's an incredibly
They're all
powerful
exquisite
process.
shamanic techniques that Eliana has taught us through her lineage and her own journey, that really help you to feel the true cosmic force of this earth as Sami. But you have to do the initiation
to do the work.
You have to have the initiation and receive the medicine in your being in a profound way, and it can take, like you said, 2 years to get the stones. You're in it. It's a ceremony. It's a ceremony. It's a pilgrimage of your life.
Yes, it is.
And it's beautiful, and it's strong.
And it's hard work.
Yeah, it's strong, but I wouldn't change any moment of it.
No,
would you?
No, there's one lady who's done a lot of work with other traditions, and she wants to come start teaching, and she said, oh, it's far too difficult and hard. I said, in that case, she can't come.
No. Yeah.
Because we've been using this way of working for, can't tell you how many years now, and I noticed that energy, that progression of clearing the heavy stuff to make way for the light is absolutely essential.
Yes.
So when we came in, you said that you'd had a moment. She'd had a moment of questioning why she was still in her body, and it was because we're in the end times.
Yes.
We're also in the beginning, and she still has work to do. And it's like, what do you feel is happening now? Do you feel like we're in the great turning and that we're coming into the beginning?
I think people are waking up, but I think they're clutching at straws. They want the easy way. They want instant initiation. They want the chocolate without whatever else they do. and there's no avoiding it. So I just think there's a sadness within me really, because I think it's the pattern or the vibe of this current age. They want quick results, and it's everybody.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to a young woman? Because, so going back to our original meeting with Eliana, we were 27, 26, 27. And the words that she spoke to us was the moment of us realising that substances and self-initiation wasn't the way, and that we needed her as our teacher to move us through into the next threshold. It actually made us step into being a woman. We realised we were stuck in teenager. You know, there was so much to receiving the words of an elder, because you were in your 70s at the time.
You must know that half the time I was channeling.
Yes.
And I haven't the least memory of what I was saying.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry about that.
Well, that's pretty amazing. So just the understanding of like, what would you say now to the young women who are spiritually seeking and who are getting lost in the culture of breaking bits off? Or any words for them?
Just that there aren't any shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
And that for this to be of value, for experiences to be of value, they have to be earned. And what's the point of putting a gold cloth down on the muddy pavement,
Wow.
so to speak?
Absolutely. That's a really beautiful way of saying it. Yeah. And so the last thing I want to say is, what about death, Eliana?
Well, I've nearly died about 3 times. First one, I got the measles when I was 9. They had to have a harem night nurse to look after me. Another time I was in Holland, I think, doing some workshop. I didn't like the venue. The venue was an old castle, and the Nazis had used it as their centre. A creepy place, and lots of people got salmonella. So did I. Nearly went then, until I was just... And another time it was part of a process within this workshop. And I thought, I don't like to be told it's my time to die. I don't believe it. I felt myself slightly going. I thought, no, it's not right. I'm not having this, because it was like a tunnel that I was being pulled into. And I thought, no, I'm not going, because this is not right. In each case, I knew it wasn't my time, so I had to pull myself back.
Yeah, yeah.
But it means that I'm not frightened of it, because I know that there will be a moment where it will be okay. I can go now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Might be a relief, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do find that I talk a lot about the ancient carcass, because I used to be do such a lot of yoga, and I can still bend down and pick up a pin from the floor. So the day I can't do that, you can put me in my box.
Okay. So what do you think when somebody says the word ascension to you?
I think of the Christos who's supposed to have ascended. I honestly don't know, and I know it's used a lot.
It is, yeah.
And it's as if some magic thing is suddenly going to happen to us, and we're all going to be blissed out. I think we have to earn it.
Yeah.
I still do think planet Earth's the schoolroom, and we come back time and time again to learn whatever lessons we've chosen each lifetime. I know what mine is. It's patience, because the number of times I've taken that bow and arrow in the star house and put my, whatever you call it, target there, which I labelled in beige patience, and tried shooting it, and I haven't managed to deal with it yet.
Amazing. So, yeah, I just want to say a little bit more about, we're going to finish now and we're going to give thanks to Eliana.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Yeah, I just want to say that Eliana, so we're here in Dorset and we've already spoken about her beautiful temple star house and all the teachings of shamanka, the School of Women's Shamanism, and just to say that that if any of you feel called to come here, it's just profoundly full of Sami, as Hannah said.
It's beautiful. If you want to feel a temple that's holding ancient lineages as well as radiance in this land of Britain, in Bridget's lands, this is where it's at. Middle Piccadilly, Dorset, is beautiful and profound, and
this is magic. People walk they know nothing and they walk in the entrance and they say, what is it about this place? It's magic.
Yeah.
And Dominic would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think so too, because to see awakenings and see instant transformation, equally to see poor souls who can't take that step, and I call them refuseniks. Sorry for them.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I think, well, when I wake up in the morning, like, oh, you're still here. What on earth did they want you to do now? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So thank you, Eliana. Thank you so much for talking to this platform and really honouring you. And we'll have a cup of tea now with Eliana.